the governor of Lamu. We had recommended him to be charged. Now the Kirinyaga governor, we have recommended her to be charged, and her case started long ago. We have investigated. We have found facts. Let the DPP give his consent, and we believe our cases against many governors, they are watertight. When a governor is stealing, doing funny things, he doesn't talk to the public. When he's arrested, he say, oh, you know, I belong to this political angle. So us will not play to the tantrums, and what in Kiswahili, hatutababaika kwa sababu ya ukorofi wa governor mmoja ambaye ameshikwa na kesi, alafu anaenda mbio kwa social media kwanza kusema oh, mimi nadhulumiwa, mimi naonewa. You know, we don't have time to argue. Kesi iko kwa DPP. Wacha ikitoka, ukipelekwa kotini, lete mawakili wako.
That is Twalib Mubarak. He's the CEO of EACC. He was talking about some recommendations they've made against some 3 governors. He said that last week it's against the governors of Tana River, Kirinyaga, and Lamu. But he also said that the recommendations to prosecute have been pending with the DPP for many months, close to a year for some of them, and now says that they are waiting for that decision to be made. Honorable Elachi, let me begin with you. I know for several shows you've spoken about politics of corruption, but this time round you are within the Azimio la Umoja movement, or is it Azimio One Kenya Alliance? What would you say is the agenda of your coalition in dealing with corruption, which has become such a serious menace in this country?
Well, you see, it's not even a menace. I think it's a culture. We've adopted it as a culture as Kenyans, and we find it so easily to just play around. And the most sad part of corruption in Kenya is that we really always politicize it. When I look at the whole process, before I come to Azimio, I want to talk as Elachi. Mm-hmm. In the whole process, when I look at every person who comes out and speaks about corruption, and you ask yourself, surely, so how do we start this journey and clean ourselves and tell all of us, just say, we want to start a clean journey for Kenya. Can we think of this? But as we move forward, we start a Kenya where you will be accountable whenever you are running in any office, whether it's CDF, whether it's any amounts that you are given, that is public resources, which is very difficult, because what happens is that the leaders are caught. And so as a leader, if you want to stay with this team, whether there is corruption in it, because you need the team, you are unable to just say, look, as much as you're coming within me, you know you have wronged Kenyans, you have misused public resources, and you have done 1, 2, 3. So that is the biggest challenge. But now let's come to Azimio la Umoja and why I support Baba. I support Baba in 2 things. 1, he has an opportunity now to face without fear or favor. He doesn't need to think of me or whoever, anyone who is within him that you know has misused public resources. He should just come out and say, you're not going to be part of my government. You have corrupted this country. You have stolen. I don't know even how to call it, because this word corruption, it's like it's a word we use it for just trying to please. But really, it is just theft. Yeah? In Kiswahili, when mwizi tu, umeiba. You are not different than the person who has stolen a small goat. You are the same. You are a thief. Because that one who has stolen a small goat will always find himself in court, charged and taken. You who have killed the dreams of many people, dreams of people of Kenyans who would have been empowered through those resources, but you are there, and Kenyans, as much as we are talking about all this, even Kenyans should start changing. Honestly, yes. Because we also clap for it, and it's like we thrive in it. And so I will go to a place, people will appreciate me, they will clap for me. In fact, they see you are the king when you do When you're in the corruption process, agenda, and the Kenyans are looking at you and wondering, okay, yeah, we talk about KEMSA, we talk about all these things, but at the same time, same Kenyans will come clapping for you. So it has to start with the citizens. Citizens must have that responsibility of saying, if you have stolen, you have stolen.
Honorable Elachi, that's fine, but even those citizens say they make a mistake and they elect the wrong.
Well, citizens are us. It's all of us. We are just making the same mistakes.
Because we have just about 22 million voters. When they cast their ballot and you look at them and say they made the wrong decision, there's still the state agencies, there's still a government that is in power. That's what I'm asking.
Yes, but I want us to come out of this notion, government. Who is government? Anyone who is receiving public resources, if you are being paid by Kenyans, you are in government. You should be controlling somewhere, and you are responsible somewhere to take care of the little you have been given. So you can't say government. Which government? I'm a government, I'm in government, yes, receiving salaries from public taxpayers' money. So you can't run away. You are also responsible. And as you face government, please go back to your small office and ask yourself, after I received money from government, what have I done? How much have I stolen? How much have I lied? I've done this and you have not done. Because it's like we run away from the real problem and we want to say government. What is government? Government is a person who runs CDF. Government is a person who runs Women Fund. Government is a person who runs the national government projects. All those are governments. Parliament is government. You have had different developments with public taxpayers' money. Have you managed properly or mismanaged? Okay. So government is all of us.
All right, I hear you. And Speaker, you're looking for the office of Member of Parliament, but you've also been at the County Assembly for the past close to 5 years now. What do you think is a must-do for the next government? And do you have any insights on what your party, UDA, is seeking to do if they win election?
Yeah, well, I think, and probably I'll just start on from where maybe Honorable Elachi started by saying she elects or she wishes to elect Raila Odinga because he has an opportunity to fight corruption. I think that is a bit misguiding the public because we are not very clear whether actually we are voting for Raila Odinga in the coming election. The kind of push and the kind of campaigns we are seeing coming from the current government, the current president, sometimes we actually wonder, are we having, or is someone pushing for a government where they're going to have some informal kind of an arrangement of power, like the way we are having today? Today, you know, Raila is not in government, yet he runs government. And it seems like there is that brotherhood agreement that I will make a position for you this time round when you are in opposition and you're in government. Then you run government from outside, and then when I leave, you do the same thing. You're in the government, then informally I'm also running government from outside. Now, the challenge with this is that it brings a lot of unaccountability, you know, because, for example, today, even if...
How possible is that, Speaker? Because I thought once you're elected, you hold power.
Yeah,
you control the instruments of power.
You hold power, you hold instruments of power. But didn't you see in Jakarta where President Kenyatta was there waiting for Raila Odinga to arrive, yet he holds power, and he's the one who is supposed to be waited for and to be, received at Jakarta. I mean, what I'm saying is that there's that brotherhood arrangement that let's share this thing informally, you know, away from the constitutional dictates. And so when you talk about a puppet president, that's basically what we are saying, that we are likely to have a president who can't even run a government, who cannot even take care of corruption, as we are saying, and so cannot have anything firm in terms of what you need to do. For example, there are some policies that have been made in the past which have defrauded Kenyans of their resources. You come up with a law, for example, to say that a bank that does not meet certain threshold must merge or be sold or be bought by another one, and then you exempt them from paying taxes, and then you bring a bank that is related to you and takes advantage of that tax relief, and then that law or that policy ends at that point in time. And then Kenyans are defrauded of that tax, as we are saying. So, and you know, really, that's part of corruption. It's what we call the policy corruption. It's official corruption, whereby you're defrauding Kenyans of. Yeah, so basically...
And so what is the agenda of UDA?
What you're saying is that as a UDA government, one of the things that we have is we are forthright. This is our candidate, this is a person who is going to be elected, and this is a person who is going to be accountable to Kenyans. And so the kind of promises they are going to give are promises that can be met, unlike what we have on the other side. And at the moment, one of the things that we are looking at is to ensure that we devolve funds through the bottom-up approach and take all the monies or a lot of the resources that we are going to have as a Republic of Kenya back to the people so that we can grow the economy from below. And you see, that is also going to remove these monies that politicians and other well-connected people use at the highest level to defraud Kenyans. For example, you have areas where a government minister just decides we are going to do a project that does not add value to anyone in this Republic of Kenya. For example, look at what we are doing at Thika Road. We have apparently a lane that we are creating at the middle of the road that is going to be a bus lane, called a BRT. And when you try to figure out what this minister is actually thinking about, when you try to figure out why we are spending billions of shillings to establish this kind of a lane at the middle of the road, then you can't really figure out, you can't actually comprehend. And so all these resources you're seeing being misused, which is part of the 7.2 trillion Kenya shillings that have been borrowed during this handshake time. When you look at the way we are misusing this money that we have borrowed, then you know for sure we have an accountability in government. So one of the things that UDA government will do is to be accountable to the citizens. And the issue of public participation will be very key and very important. That has already started.
Okay. About
3 weeks ago, His Excellency the Deputy President was in Nyeri County, where we had a meeting with the public, stakeholders, where all of them raised their issues in their own sectors and said, this is what we want the government to address. And that was taken, and the Deputy President sat there from 11 all the way to 5 p.m. taking notes, and with a team of economists. As we are talking now, they are somewhere in Naivasha actually drafting the mantra, drafting the contract that the Deputy President is going to be signing with the people of Nyeri in coming days. And he's going to do this for every county. We are going to sign this contract and agree this is what is going to be put in the budget. And who is going to be checking and supervising this? It is the people. And so when resources are... When you have this kind of an agreement, an arrangement from the people, and then it is going to form the budget allocations for the first, years, 3-4 years, then you have the people, directly supervising government.
And of course, we know that the budget-making process in the country is required to encompass public participation. It is also a very key responsibility of the National Assembly, which you hope to join. So you'll be telling us about where that will fall in the structure of management of that affair. Let's listen to what Deputy President William Ruto said during the UDA NDC alongside what Talib Mubarak thinks about that. Listen.
On our first day, we will free the DCI. We will free the KRA from state capture. As they weaponize the KRA, we will do the complete opposite. We will professionalize the KRA, digitize the KRA.
State capture in what sense? When we charge these people, nobody calls us to tell us, go this way and go that way. And even if, put yourself into a situation, can somebody call you in one day and tell you, I want you to jail, to fix this guy, and in 1 month you have a case that you have taken to DPP? Can you do that practically? So it's up to you to know that politicians are playing politics. The commission is very neutral in its execution of its mandate.
Honorable Boss, let me begin with you, because should I say your party leader or not yet?
Yeah, he's my party leader.
Okay. Your party leader there is suggesting that state agencies have been used politically by the government, to deal with the politicians of divergent opinion or other Kenyans of divergent opinion. So if you win that election, what exactly are you going to change? Because there's this perception that there's a lot of politicking in dealing with corruption. How do you change that?
Okay, first of all, this has not begun now with the challenge that we've been having with EACC. I think EACC, when we talk about professionalizing the Anti-Corruption Authority, is making sure that they follow up on watertight cases and cases that they can win. In other countries, you are expected to have a 98% conviction rate. If you don't, you actually lose your job because you're taking cases to court that have no, that are going nowhere. I have had a personal experience with the EACC parading 22 witnesses in my corruption court case, and all 22 witnesses unequivocally testified that there was no wrongdoing on my part, their own prosecution witnesses. And remember, before the witness comes to court, they sign a witness statement. So they already knew that these witnesses were not supporting the prosecution case. So why did they parade them in court? They wasted the judge's time, they wasted the judiciary time, they wasted government resources just to push a case that was going nowhere. We have seen it in the way that they have been undertaking cases. So yes, Talib has said that it doesn't, you can't prepare a case overnight. But what conclusion can you come to as a Kenyan when you have cases where you have seen the witness statements? The testimony is known in advance by the Anti-Corruption Authority. You don't actually take the cases or the documents to the DPP to approve before you confirm that, before you get all the documentation. So they already know what the witness is going to say. They already know what evidence they have. They have no business sending it to the DPP. Sometimes the DPP, I can also fault the DPP, whom I supported during his appointment in Parliament, because I believed that he was going to change this country. Unfortunately, he's fallen for the trap. He's busy signing recommendations for prosecution in cases where it is clear, it's clear as daylight that they are not going to see the light of day. So either the DPP does not read the documents, or he's being directed by somebody else to sign approval for prosecution where there is no prosecution. So yes, I believe that there is a need to professionalize the DPP's office, to professionalize EACC. Just make sure you have professionals who, and professionalizing also making sure that they have some regulations on and a scorecard and marking scheme of which cases must go forward. And if that is done, then they will not just be pushing papers forward because they've been told to do that. So yes, they are definitely being directed by somebody. Those cases that are going forward are political. I will give another example. When you find NCIC in a case that they know that is not hate speech, and they arrest someone dramatically, take them to the police station, make them pay bail, take them to court, and then discover that, oh, there's no case to answer. So, and that is why we also must empower the judiciary. The judiciary must be made independent. They must make sure that they have sufficient resources and that they are not at the beck and call of the executive or the treasury. We must make sure that they have financial independence, because they are actually our last frontier. They are our last resort. And they have saved this country in the BBI case, in the issue of the Nairobi Metropolitan case, in the case of the illegality of appointing CASs without having a sufficient law to do it. They have made 8 pronouncements against the current government, which is actually good. So we must empower those independent agencies to be able to work. In a situation where...
You've said something that... you said that the DPP sometimes has been approving
cases that are going nowhere.
I'm looking at the report of December 2021 by EACC. They were saying that there are 56 files that have been forwarded to the DPP. 37 of them were recommending prosecution, 17 were recommending closure of cases, and then they received back 21 out of the 37. They received some files that recommended for further investigation, yet there were 21 out of the 37.
Yes.
And as of the close of that year, the files that were waiting for DPP's advice were 21.
Yes, I have that report here.
Would it be fair then to say that they are not doing their due diligence if all this work is pending?
No. In some of the cases, in fact, 90% of the cases that they have recommended for prosecution will never have a conviction. That is the standard in the international prosecution standard. You are supposed to have at least a 98% conviction rate when you take a case. When you don't have that standard of conviction rate, then you actually lose your job for underperformance. It's a performance indicator for whether you have done your job right or not. And remember, the law is predictable. Law is so clear. I can tell you today with precision which case is going to see the light of day and which one is not going to see the light of day. Because the law is like math. 1 + 1 = 2. Except, of course, in law, you can have three answers. So I can tell you today, the court will make a decision, this decision or that decision or that decision. That is why, long before the BBI case was lost at the High Court, I said in Parliament when I spoke on the BBI issue, I said I have no doubt in my mind that the High Court is going to declare this unconstitutional.
Okay.
Long before it went to court. You can tell it if you're a lawyer. So you have to tell me all these lawyers in the DPP's department can't actually read. It's because they are obviously being motivated by something other than the reading of the law.
Of course, Honorable Boss, we know there are more other challenges that befall cases.
That their brains are not challenged, they're lawyers.
While in court. But I hear you say that you're going to push for judiciary independence.
Yes.
And you also
DPP's independence.
And you're going to professionalize the institutions.
Yes.
Honorable Kamket, your party leader has made some serious suggestions on how to deal with corruption. That includes killing.
Yeah, we'd like to hear.
What are the specifics?
Yes. Nice, specifics.
First of all, before we come to my party leader, I've listened to my friend, Mr. Kagusha, Speaker for Nyeri. I've listened to my friend here.
No, answer the question.
And
it's the build-up.
And there is no
He's
way,
avoiding the question.
There is no way, there is no way the UDA party can have any agenda against corruption. Because UDA is corrupt.
How so?
Let me tell you.
Answer the question.
Half of its leaders
and remind Kenyans
half of its leaders are facing corruption charges. You know, so how can you be
how many leaders does you
from the party not only charges, even others have corruption allegations against them. From the party leader himself.
And that's what I'm asking you.
So, he has a murder charge against him. Is he a murderer?
There is no way.
Honorable Kamket, the reason I'm asking you this is...
why are you interrupting me?
I'm just reframing the question.
Yes.
You already know that half of the UDA leaders, which are your words, are corrupt. So if you win power or you join government, how will you deal with them?
First of all, I was beginning I began by saying that the UDA brigade have no moral authority to speak to us about having an agenda against corruption, because they are half of their leaders, from the party leader himself, have serious corruption cases against them.
What case?
So they can have no agenda.
Which case?
What case against DP Ruto?
Which case against DP Ruto?
You do not know that the land case?
Which case?
The Western case?
Is it in court?
The Western case?
No, is it in court?
Yes, isn't it?
No, it's not.
The Western case is in court.
It's not in court.
So
not in court.
Western land.
Honorable Kamket, I thought that case was concluded.
Exactly.
So then, even the question of the land, it was concluded, and it was found that he had stolen somebody's land.
No, it was cleared. So he doesn't even know what's happening.
So they have no moral authority to speak about corruption.
Okay, fine.
That's the statement I wanted to make.
Give us a specific.
Now, I have heard what Mr. Mbaraka said. I cannot cast aspersions on those other people. I do not know what cases they are facing, the governors. But I want to say this generally, that I want to agree with my colleague, Honorable Shole here, that judiciary is our last, is the most important institution in this country. And we must at all times strengthen the judiciary. I am personally, I've had cases against me, and the judiciary has always come through. Okay, but there are issues in this country, and we are all human. Okay, people make cases. Sometimes they do not get it right. That is a given. But that's why we have checks and balances, okay? And that's why we are a constitutional democracy, okay? So the judiciary, in my view, has played a very key role. By the way, Gladys, the jury is still out on the matter of BBI. You know that for sure, and so
I know which cases can be undone and which ones can't be undone.
Do not cover it because the jury is still out. So I think I've made a general statement,
right,
that it's not the law, like the way Shole is saying, is not like science, okay?
It's military precision.
There is no empirical, you know, there's no empirical last word on the law. There must be always, that's why different lawyers will
definitely
argue.
You're not a lawyer, right?
That's why different lawyers will have different arguments on any matter. But what I'm saying is,
I hear what you're saying.
Yes.
But are there any specifics? Because yes, the challenges have been highlighted. We have challenges at the EACC.
I know where you're driving me to. You want me to tell you about what my party leader has been saying.
No, you don't have to. You can tell me the specifics.
Listen. Those are political pronouncements.
But from your point of view,
those are political pronouncements that politicians make out there, and clearly, we in the Azimio movement have a better agenda to fight corruption than this corrupt element called UDA. We have a better track record than UDA, clearly. And when I was listening to Mr. Kagusha there, saying that he's going to have a puppet president, and very good. It's better to have that, and then their leader is going to be a perfect opposition leader. That's where he's headed for anyway. So he can check the government. That is his job. Let him. You know, in this country, in the Republic of Kenya, one cannot become president until they become opposition leader. That is an unwritten constitution of Kenya. Kenyatta sat in opposition benches. Moi sat in opposition benches. Kibaki sat on opposition benches. Raila sat on opposition benches. Ruto must, as of necessity,
educate me here.
In opposition.
Jomo Kenyatta was in what opposition benches?
Sorry?
Jomo Kenyatta was in what opposition?
He was opposed to the colonialists. Yes.
But you see,
some of these things must happen. So William Ruto must, as a matter of fact, sit in the opposition benches.
But those are just...
I am telling you, these are truisms. These are truisms.
Okay. Sam, I think I really want to save Honorable Kamket from this. You asked him a very hard question and a very difficult question. I don't think you expect any answer from him. If you're asking Kamket, who is on KANU ticket, to explain how KANU is going to fight corruption in Kenya, then you definitely know you will not get an answer. Kamket will be general, will go around everything.
And attack my party leader.
Because we know very well that it's KANU that failed this country. It's KANU actually that dipped us to where we are.
Sam.
And until...
But he might argue it's not the same KANU that he's in now.
Sam,
KANU was led
when
by
you speak
Moi,
about KANU...
And KANU is led by Moi now.
When he speaks about KANU,
Sam,
he must remember, that at one time, William Ruto was a Secretary General of KANU.
And now he's not.
But you want to talk about KANU at the time. Who was the Secretary General? It's William Ruto. Come on, let's not.
Sam.
We are not kids here. We are all grown-ups.
Ruto left KANU
so
Ruto left
he must He must speak knowing that everybody was in KANU. Everyone. Even President Kenyatta, even Raila Odinga was Secretary General of KANU. Everybody was in KANU.
Right.
You must never speak about KANU.
At one point.
That's fine.
Even him is a beneficiary of KANU milk.
Maybe
of Dayo milk.
I made a point.
So you must be careful when you say some things, my friend.
Honorable Kamket, I don't know about...
No.
Well,
just finish your point, then I give...
Yeah, what I want to say is, first, as a country, to fight corruption, we must reduce borrowing that we are having in Kenya.
Yeah.
Because we are borrowing too much money that we are not putting into good use. And I pointed out that we have borrowed more than 7 trillion Kenya shillings from the handshake time. When Kibaki was in government, we had borrowed just less than 2 trillion. In the first 5 terms of Uhuruto, we borrowed just about 4 trillion or less. During the handshake alone...
Say that again?
Yeah.
Say those figures again?
Yeah, during the Kibaki's time, we borrowed well less than 2 trillion Kenya shillings. In the first 5 years of the Uhuruto government, we borrowed less than 4 trillion Kenya shillings. And now, in the last 5 years of the handshake, we have borrowed well over 7 trillion Kenya shillings.
To come to what total?
I mean, now, as we are talking, the debt we have in Kenya skyrocketing is gone way beyond the ceiling of 9 trillion. We are going now to 12 trillion Kenya shillings.
Because the figure from the Central Bank of Kenya talks about 8.2 billion. And also from the National Treasury?
No, what I can tell you is that there are also there are figures which are also under the guarantees. You know, there is a lot of money that is coming from...
true. That is true, but you see, you're not including them in the figure you're talking of before the second term. Those figures of guaranteed loans, you're not including them in
no, but what you also need to know is that we're also repaying these loans. So we are not static. We don't borrow but not repay. We are repaying some of these. So when you talk about the 1.8 trillion that we borrowed during the Kibaki's time, we've already paid so much. When we talk about what we borrowed in the first 5 years, we have also returned so much. So, but now if you look at the consolidated debt that we have in Kenya now is going all the way to 12 trillion Kenya shillings.
That's what I'm asking.
Whereas the ceiling.
Consolidated debt when Kibaki was living or at the end of the first term of President Kenyatta?
Yeah, well, I need to check the figures correctly, but I'm talking about the amount of money that we have borrowed during these periods of time. And when you look at the 7 trillion that we have borrowed in the last 5 years, when we have had this handshake, if you look at how we have spent that money, you will have a lot of questions that will not be answered. And that's why I'm saying one of the things that we must stop is this too much borrowing, because it gives us too much liquidity of money that we are not properly putting into good use. And once we do that, let us concentrate a little bit much more on building the economy so that we generate money from the economy itself that we can be able to use. And I can tell you, once we're generating money from the economy itself that we are going to be using for development in Kenya, we are going to probably be a little bit more careful, because money is not going to be coming in large volumes at once. Such that it is misused. And if that is happening, Kenyans also who are also growing this economy and they have control over what they are raising from their own sources are going to be also more focused on how we are using the little money that we have in the country. And the people who are doing even useless projects that are not going to help anyone at any one point in time are going to be reduced. That hunger and thirst for huge development projects that are either not completed, they remain as white elephant, or exaggerated in terms of cost, that are putting our country into a very serious shrink economically instead of enlarging and expanding our economy. That is one of the things that we must handle as a country, and are very, very serious at that, so that we can be able to ensure that everyone is accountable and everyone is also able to save the little money that we are getting. Because if you don't have so much,
Kagusha, I hear you, and just for the sake of the viewer, you're right that March 2013, when President Kenyatta was leaving office, the public debt as declared by the Central Bank of Kenya, these are not my figures, was 1.79 trillion. Of course, 981 billion was for domestic debt, 812 was external debt. Then come August 2017, at the end of this first term of President Kenyatta, the declared public debt was 4.4 trillion shillings.
Exactly.
As of June 2021, the last figure on the site, it was at 7.7 trillion shillings.
Yeah.
And there are figures that we hear from the National Treasury and the Budget Committee of Parliament putting it at 8.2 trillion shillings. But yes, you're right. There's the other figure of about 3.2 of guaranteed loans that is not included in this calculation.
Going all the way to 12 trillion.
Unfortunately, we don't have the figures for the earlier terms.
Now I've given you the figures. I've done my homework well.
The earlier terms you have not given us. That's what I'm saying. We don't have them for us to make objective analysis. But Speaker, sorry.
No, I think you have brought it the way I just wanted to say that it will